Good morning, everyone. I am momentarily, possibly all episode, going to be by myself. My friend and podcast colleague and whatever, Teresa, is dealing with she's got her niece has just come home very, very sick. So I don't know if she's going to be able to make it, but that's okay. We'll make it happen. So today, thank you, by the way, for hanging out with me, whether you're here live or on the replay. I apologize. Usually I'm live on my personal page, my business page, and on YouTube, but for some reason, the software that I use, StreamYard, is not letting me go live on my personal page today. So I apologize. Okay, you guys are finding me. Excellent. Good. Perfect. Good morning. Good morning. Today we are talking about chapter 7 of The Big Leap, which is solving the relationship problem, transcending the upper limits of love and appreciation. And so I've said to you before, if you've been following us for any number of episodes, you know, or me at all, really, I've been very open and honest about the fact that one of my classic upper limit moves is to pick fights with my husband. And that has gotten a lot better. I've been able to kind of nip that in the bud. I've gotten better at, recognizing when that's happening. But sure enough, just this morning, we got into an argument because I didn't take the time to sit back and take a breath and think about what was going on. And so I overreacted and I jumped back into control freak mode. And then as, it's happening, I don't really realize it. And then after the dust kind of settled again and it was all fine, I was like, oh my God, this is literally what we're talking about today. So it's okay. I've also said this before, the universe and I kind of have an agreement that when I'm about to teach something, give a lesson on something, train on something, I have an experience in my life that I can draw on personally. So I didn't really, need to be more specific. I didn't want that today. But it's also no surprise. Okay, so in this chapter specifically, Gay Hendricks is talking about how couples who are successful, whether one or the other is successful or they're both successful, are most likely to run into the upper limit problem because not only are they trying to transcend their own upper limit problems, but they're also transcending each other's upper limit problems, right? And so, like, if one party of the relationship becomes successful or started getting more attention or more accolades or whatever, the other person not only has to deal with the partner number one transcending all of this stuff, but then they have to be okay with this increase of excitement and this increase of financial support usually, and this increase of attention and all of this, right? So everybody in the relationship, and this probably, I would kind of argue that this probably extends even into like siblings and friendship circles, parents, maybe even clients, right? Because everybody's affected. When one person starts reaching higher levels of success, everybody in their life is affected in some way, right? Because either they don't have the time, and this is what happened to me this morning. This is why I'm bringing this up. Well, also because it's the chapter, but it's relevant because, so I'm in the middle of a 3-day live masterclass. If you're not signed up for Unshakable Confidence yet, highly recommend that you come. Yesterday was day 1. We talked about embodying success. Today's day 2. We're talking about conquering your doubts. And then tomorrow for day 3, we're going to kind of recap it all. I'm going to tie it all together, and we're actually going to do some breakout sessions and share some ideas, and it's going to be really, really great. So if you're not involved in that yet, if you're not signed up for that, go ahead and comment confidence below, and I'll make sure you get the link to sign up. There's replays going out. The replays are available till next Wednesday. So even if you can't make it live, you can still watch the replay and you'll still get a lot out of it. So I've got that going on right now. So I'm kind of preoccupied with, my mind is preoccupied with all these things I've got going on. I've just launched my new membership, the Lucky Girl Collective, which I'm so excited about. If you'd like more information about that and how you can use my faster manifestation formula to manifest anything you want and step into your Lucky Girl era, you can comment Lucky below and I'll get you the link for that. I've got a monthly membership option and also an annual pass option. The annual pass saves you essentially $10 a month off the membership. And I'm really, really proud of it. I've been working on it for a long time. I've been thinking about it for an even longer time. Things are just going really well right now. And so, classic move, I end up not giving myself the time, space, and awareness to process what was happening this morning. And I stepped into control freak mode, which ended up causing an argument with my husband, who was just trying to be helpful. Like, I want to say, like, he was just trying to help, just trying to be helpful. And anyway, I hit an upper limit. Okay. So, but this is a normal thing. Okay. And so what he's talking about in this book here is that we need to learn how to transcend the upper limits of love and appreciation, because these are the areas where we are most likely to sabotage our success. Because if everything else around us is going well and we can't handle that, we are going to sabotage our relationships closest to us. And he doesn't say this in here, but it's my kind of viewpoint that one of the reasons that's the case is that we, like in my case, for example, I know that my husband is not going to leave me because of an argument that we've had, right? Like, we're almost 15 years into this thing. We've got an amazing son together. We've gone through a lot of stuff together. We know each other better than we know ourselves generally. And so I know that he's a safe space. Like, he gives me complete unconditional love. So it's a safe space for me, which I'm not saying this is right. I'm not like condoning my behavior. I'm just saying, I think just like, kids kind of poke and push at their moms because they're a safe space. I think a lot of the times in relationships, we do the same thing because we know, well, maybe for two reasons. One, we know that they're not going to go anywhere, or two, maybe we're trying to see if they will. And that's like a greater sabotage, right? Because he says somewhere in here, where is it? I don't know if I highlighted it or not. But anyway, I'll see if I can kind of recap it. Basically, what he's saying is, when you create a conflict in your relationship, now you're preoccupied with that and you can't focus on being in your zone of genius because you have to deal with this relationship problem, right? So he says, these people, John Huber and Peggy Haroff, conducted one of the few in-depth studies ever done on the relationships of successful people. The authors found that 80% of the 437 successful people they studied had unsatisfying marriages and long-term relationships. Only about 20% of the couples had relationships the authors called vital. The other 80% had three main styles of unsatisfying relationships. And if you are okay with it, I would love it if you would comment below and tell me if you are currently in, or if you have had a relationship like this. So comment number 1, if you have ever had a devitalized relationship. This is a relationship where the partners remain together in spite of having fallen out of love with each other years ago. They had been going through the motions, sometimes for decades, and the relationship often looked okay from the outside, but there was little or no passion between the individuals. If you are currently in, or have been, or have transcended from and out of this kind of relationship, comment a 1. Comment a 2 if you are comfortable. If you are currently or have been in a passive congenial relationship, and this is where the partners have never really been passionate about each other from the first place. The relationship was really based more on affection and friendship, and more like business partners. Their expectations are low, so they were seldom disappointed with each other. Because of the low expectations, they didn't fight much, and so remained together in a state of ho-hum harmony. I know. I've witnessed this kind of relationship in a friend of mine, and I know exactly what that looks like, and it's not. Anyway, and then comment a 3 if you are in or have ever been in a relationship, in a conflict habituated relationship. And this is where the partners create a lifestyle based around constant conflict, where engaging in low-level bickering or heated conflict keeps them in this long-term combat interrupted by periods of truce. And these couples seem almost to thrive on conflict, which provides them with an adrenaline-infused state of ongoing arousal. right? So obviously we don't want to be in any of these relationships. We want to be in a good, vital, fulfilling relationship, right? So he says here, there are two main reasons that successful people have dismal relationships. One is simply because they're successful, and two, because they don't know how the upper limit problem works. The very fact of being successful makes it more likely that the relationship will be troubled because both partners have to deal with the upper limit problem to a more intense degree, right? So this is what I was just talking about again a minute ago. And then he says, he goes on to talk about projection and how the power of projection really is something we need to be looking at, because projection is the source of power struggles that eat up energy and intimacy in relationships. A vast amount of energy can be liberated in relationships by dropping the habit of projection. And projection occurs when you attribute to others something that's true for you inside yourself instead. Okay, so you're projecting that behavior onto somebody else. Now, this is true for both negative things and positive things, right? A lot of the time, this is something that I don't love about a lot of the coaching industry in general, is that we spend a lot of time poking about on what things need to be fixed. And so like, okay, so this is a trigger for you and you're projecting this onto this person and all of that. And so we're focusing on the things that are kind of irritating us about other people and saying, okay, well, the thing that irritates you about your partner, for example, is something that you have not fully dealt with yourself. And there's a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. It's very, very good. It's all about shadow work. And she talks a lot about this, right? And she talks about how the things you experience in other people in close relationships and in people you see from a distance, people you follow on social media, right? There are things that they do that irritate you, they trigger you, and you spend more time thinking about it than you probably should, right? That's something that triggers you. But there's also the flip side of that. There's also, I think somebody calls it like a sparkle, a glimmer, something like that. The light side is where you are following somebody on social media. Maybe it's somebody in a relationship where they have aspects of themselves that you actually find very inspirational. Maybe you're even jealous of. Now, the thing here is those are also projections of you, but you haven't incorporated those and embodied those either. You haven't fully accepted yourself for who you are. So you are looking at these people like they are better than you, or they have more than you, or they're, oh, she's so inspiring, I wish I could do that. But it's just a projection of some part of you that you haven't integrated, right? So it works both ways. It's both, projection is both, well, I was going to say it's both a good and a bad thing. I don't think it's really either a good or bad thing. It's just a way that it is. And when you understand how it works, it's much easier to make sense of it and to use it to your advantage, right? And so he says, like, again, projection is the source of power struggles that eat up energy and intimacy in relationships. Power struggles are a war between two people to see whose version of reality will win out. But the problem with this is really what's happening is you're just fighting to see who will give up and who gets to be right. That's not productive. Right? The only way to transform an entanglement, which is what that basically is, into a relationship is when both people drop projection and see that they are each 100% creators of their own reality, right? And this is tough to do because so many of us want to point the finger at you and tell, I want to tell you how you made this wrong and you messed up and you caused me to feel this way and all of that. But it's not productive because and he says this earlier in the book, nobody's going to sit there and go, yeah, you're right. This is all my fault. I take 100% responsibility for the way you feel and my actions and all of this. We have to take responsibility for ourselves and take 100% responsibility for the way that we're creating our reality, right? And so the upper limit problem is magnified in successful couples because each person is synergizing the other's quest for a life in the zone of genius. And at the same time, they're also synergizing each other's tendencies towards self-sabotage. Right? And this is where couples who wish to transcend these tendencies will benefit from making a mutual commitment to transcending the upper limit problem and living with each other in the zone of genius. Because it makes everything so much easier. If you and your partner are committed to both witnessing each other, supporting each other, calling each other out when you are stepping outside of your zone of genius, making sure that you're each taking on things and promoting the fact that you want to live in your zone of genius, and it makes everything a lot easier. But when only one person wants to, it's a little bit tricky because you're not as likely to catch the self-sabotage. You're not as likely to be supported in working through the self-sabotage and just all of the things, right? So, but I want you to understand something, and he talks about this in the book here. For zillions of years, relationships have been built on, family dynasties, financial wellness, hunters and gatherers, who can bear the most children and things like that. It's only very recently that we've started building relationships based on like what we actually want, right? What we're actually looking for in our partners, basing it on fulfillment and communication and commitment and all of that, right? This is not a traditional way that we have been conditioned to operate in a relationship, which is one of the reasons why they are so challenging, right? Is because our epigenetics are not wired for relationships the way that we want them to be now. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying this is why this work is so important, is because we want to start to create a new paradigm where the relationships we're in are mutually beneficial and fulfilling and full of commitment and desire to be in the relationships, not like obligation to be in the relationships, right? And so when we open up to more of this love and energy, we do begin to flush out that old programming, right? Like I'm talking about, but our energy thermostat is reset higher. And sometimes this sets off the alarms, right? This triggers the upper limit problem. Genuine contact with another person gets us high, and this trips the upper limit switch, making us want to come back down to a more familiar level, which is like starting arguments, withholding significant communications, which he says here as an example. We get scared of being close, for example, and instead of telling the microscopic truth about, for example, my belly felt tight and my skin contracted when I heard you say XYZ, we withdraw and swallow the communication, right? So we're not fully communicating how we feel. We're not staying in integrity with ourselves because we're not able to communicate. And then of course, there's also the need to control or dominate the other person, or be controlled and dominated, because that's part of our default programming too. So if you are a successful person, which you're watching this, so either you are now or you're destined to be. So I suggest that you are reading this book and listening to what I'm saying. But if you're a successful person in a close relationship, you'll likely find the following suggestions helpful. Make sure you take plenty of time for yourself. We need to be taking intentional time away from everybody so that we can really think about who we are and what we want and what we need, and integrate what's happened that day and process things and when you spend time alone and you spend time, with your journal or in meditation or just having a bath or going for a walk or whatever, it gives you time to really question what things you believe and what things you want to be true for you. And it helps you withdraw from the, I should do this and I should do that and I could do this and all of that. It helps you really stay in your sovereignty, right, of your own being. It says here, a close relationship stirs up powerful transformative energies, and you need lots of rest time to integrate this rapid fire stimulation that our relationship provides, right? Especially if you're in a relationship where your partner is open and willing and excited about helping you become a better version of yourself, whether they are a successful person or not, whether they are trying to transcend their upper limits or not. If you have someone like I do in my life, my husband is constantly, he knows how important it is for me to grow and evolve and, reach new levels of success and embody new versions of myself and all of that. And he is doing all of those things for himself. So he only wants to help me do the same and do it as peacefully as possible. And so I think one of the things that really gets him aggravated is when he can see that I have obviously sabotaged my development in some way, and we're circling back to something we've already touched on before. And in some or all or a few ways, it seems like there's really not been that much progress made. And I can totally understand that. It's frustrating because I'm too close to it, right? And of course, it's vice versa, right? When we've had the same conversation over and over because it doesn't seem to be landing, it's like, okay, maybe we should try a new approach, right? But I do believe that most people, if not all people, are coming at us with good intentions. And if you attract what you are. So if you are a good person with good intentions, you mean well, you want good for you and your family, I believe that we will attract people like that into our lives. So that being said, I would like to believe that the people in our lives, whether we're projecting onto them or they are reflecting back to us something that would benefit us to work on, I would love to believe that that is the case, and that they are just trying to be helpful, and it is at the very least, the universe, God, whoever, speaking through them to us to help us, right? And I have seen this in my husband multiple times. I'll be thinking about something or something I'm working on, a limiting belief, something, and I know it's a channeled message. Like, I know it's not his ego speaking to me. I know that he is being used as the channel for good for me. And it's hard for me to explain what it's like, but I know that that's happening for me. So I know that it's happening for other people too. I'm not the only person who's having channeled messages come through them, through their partners, right? So listen to what they're saying too, and understand that it's coming from a good place, right? Next, you want to put a priority on speaking the microscopic truths, especially about what's going on in your emotions, right? Because a lot of the time it's the lack of communication, it's the harboring of the emotions, it's the not processing emotions that has us ultimately hitting these upper limits, because we're not allowing ourselves to process these things. And he says in the next little bit here, when emotions are in the air, as they often will be in close relationships, don't try to talk yourself or your partner out of them. You want to eliminate phrases such as please don't cry or there's nothing to be angry about. Feelings are meant to be felt. So encourage each other to go through complete cycles of emotions, right? It's the act of stifling and concealing feelings that causes problems in relationships and in your own self. Like, don't forget, this goes deeper than just your relationship. Pent up emotions, bottled up emotions, leads to dis-ease in the body, right? It leads to disease in the body. It leads to illness, sickness, whether that's a cough or a cold or a strep throat or full blown, like all the way worst case scenario, cancer, autoimmune disease, things like that, right? Stress, anxiety. You don't want to be harboring your emotions. You want to be, at the very least, honest with yourself about how you feel and letting yourself actually feel the feelings. Right? And let yourself feel that way until you don't feel that way anymore. And then move forward after that. Okay. You do not want to be sitting there trying to resist the way that you feel, because all that does is perpetuate the feeling, because you haven't let the feeling flow all the way through you. You haven't released it back to wherever it came from. Right? So you have to let it move through you. Thanks, Teresa. I was just talking about the importance of allowing ourselves to feel our emotions and to not harbor them, because it causes not like you say in the book, not only does it cause trouble in the relationship, but just aside from all that, just in yourself, right? It causes all this disease in your body. You have to, and we talked about this when we did The Greatest Secret a while ago, you have to let the emotion be there, accept it, allow it to be there, and then release it, right?
Yeah, it's really sitting with our truth, right? Because again, it comes back to the people pleasing part. A lot of times we don't say things because we don't want to cause conflict or we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But this is all learning about how to continuously speak your truth, be in your truth, because if not, you're only hurting yourself. Well, it's not even yourself. You're hurting yourself and everybody who's involved with you. Mm-hmm. Because then they don't know how to come into their own truth. You're not allowing them to learn either. It's just, it cuts off everything right there.
Right.
And we have to be okay with this. And this even talks about this, right? It says, instead of just saying, oh, everything's okay, I'm fine. No, speak your little truths. A little bit more, a little bit more. It's all about communication.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying right now too, if you don't, you hold that inside, you trap this emotion, Then you're coming to an energy healer 24/7 because your body is so sick and you can't understand why.
Yeah.
Because you've been holding everything inside.
Or worse, you don't realize that you can get an energy healing and you go to a traditional doctor and they're treating the symptoms you have, but they're not addressing the underlying concerns, right? That's even worse.
Right. That there's no way around this. We are in an energetic, vibrational universe. Every disease, there's some kind of energetic imbalance behind that. All day.
Yeah. Okay.
I like how, sorry, he's mentioning how this is the greatest quest ever, right?
Yes.
Being in a relationship, a loving relationship with two successful people. How many people needed to hear that right now?
Oh, I know.
Because everybody thinks like, oh, there's something wrong. Or I always think about how we all grew up on Disney movies.
Yeah.
It was programming from the time we were little. What the fuck? You're not showing up as Prince Charming? Like the movie told me this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right? So we have these sometimes unrealistic expectations of how the other people should show up for us, but we're all going through something here. We're all on our own journey of learning. It's constant. It's constant.
Yeah.
You know, even right now, what was the lesson? There's a lesson in this right now for me coming late. Normally, and I'm sure a lot of people do this, right? You have these plans set.
Yeah.
It has to come out this way. You're finally doing, especially on this journey. I'm finally doing good. I'm right there. I have it all together. I got it figured out. Everything's moving forward. And then you get a wrench thrown right in your path. And we have one of two ways to respond or react to this. We're going to lose all control, throw everything down the drain. We start beating ourselves up, right? We go into shame. We go into guilt. We go into fear. Because what is the other people going to think? Because I didn't show up for them either. It's like, so many things come into your mind, but this continuously happens on this journey. I literally was talking to somebody yesterday who's doing amazing, but one of her challenges was alcohol, and the alcohol kind of took over the weekend. So all the forward movement that she made, dumped it in the drain. I'm a piece of shit. I'm never going to get better. I can't do this. This life isn't for me. Yes, it is. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And the things that we are struggling with the most are going to keep appearing until we finally are like, okay, I got it. Fucking show up no matter what. Keep believing that I am moving forward. I am on the right path. And we say this over and over and over and over. No matter what appears in front of us, it's continuous. Everything is the unfolding of my manifestations, right? Everything is leading me to exactly what I desire, no matter how it looks. For me, it's just this morning was just another opportunity for growth. Because what do I usually do? Fuck it. Forget it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to show up. That's it. It's a fucking disaster. I made it this far and then this happens. I'm done. No. Fuck no. Because I know I'm right there.
Yeah.
I'm having so many downloads and so many realizations, but I think this is a huge, huge thing for this journey, you guys. You're going to get pulled back. This book talks about this. Every fucking chapter talks about this. You're going to get pulled back over and over and over and over and over and over. Yeah. Every new level that you get to, you're going to fucking get pulled back again. Again, it's us. We have to keep digging deep. We have to keep refocusing. We have to keep recommitting. And we have to keep believing. And it's the ultimate faith in yourself and the unseen.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's funny that you bring up the alcohol thing because you guys know I've been very honest about how, like, I don't have a problem with alcohol or anything, but on Mother's Day, I drank way too much. And then I decided, oh, this is a good idea. I'm going to smoke some weed with my dad. And then I got really sick, right? And then I was like, okay, you know what? Like, this is, again, it's a lesson for me on just being more aware. Like, why do I even do it? Like, it got me a question, like, why do I even do this? It didn't really add to my day. It actually, I think for me, like I said, it was kind of a way to kind of bring myself back down to like the people around me. No, I don't mean it like that, but I just mean like, I feel guilty about having so many good things going on. I just like, oh, well, let's, you know, because alcohol is a depressant, right? So anyway, so over the weekend, so this is now almost a month since that happened. And I have been completely sober the entire time. And on the weekend, so I make really good mojitos. Like, amazing, tastes like you're in Cuba mojitos, right? And so I got stuff to make mojitos, but I was making mine virgin because I just don't want to, right? And I was making them for my mother-in-law. She and I usually drink them together, and I was putting alcohol in hers because that's what normally you do with mojitos, right? And I'm drinking whatever. And then I caught myself thinking, it would be so, I could just pour, I'll just have a little bit maybe, right? And it's just like, and I'm not, like I said, I don't have a problem with it. I don't really binge drink even when I do drink. Like I'm not like battling an alcoholism problem or anything like that. So I'm not trying to make light of anybody who is battling like an actual problem, right? But I did kind of catch myself thinking, oh, maybe I should. And I was like, okay, but why do I want to do that? Like, what is the thought process here? Like, what good is it going to do me? Right. And then I decided not to. And I ended up having like, I don't know, 6 or 7 over the whole weekend, like virgin mojitos, which were amazing. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, this is fantastic. I had my mojito. I still feel amazing. I don't have a hangover. I'm not dehydrated. I don't feel gross. Right. And I'm proud of myself for showing up. Right. And then the next day when I was making more, same thing happened again. Do I want some? Like, do I? And then I was like, no, I don't. You know what? And it became more important to me. And this is just all with working with awareness. Because obviously up until then, I didn't have this around alcohol. I thought, no, you know what? I'm on the up and up. I don't want to trigger my upper limit problem. I know that alcohol is a depressant. So I'm doing all this work to move forward. I'm proud of myself with my consistency. Like I've been going live Monday to Thursday. I've been, sending emails regularly. I've been showing up. I've been doing the things. So I was like, no, I am not going to like detour myself with a drink that I don't even necessarily want. Like and why have any alcohol if I'm not going to get drunk is my thinking. Cause like, what's the point then? I've put poison in my body for no reason. At least if I'm going to do it, I want to have enough that it makes a difference in how I feel. But then I thought, well, why do I want to do that though? And then I went back to conversations we've been having here about, no, I'm expanding in abundance, success, and love. And I want to be able to sit here and hold how good I feel and these good conversations we're having and how good my relationship's going with my mother-in-law and my husband and my son and my father-in-law and everybody without feeling the need to dampen it or intoxicate myself in any way. And it took like, I'm telling you, it was funny. Like as I'm making these drinks, I was just like, oh, it would be easy to just put a little bit. It was a serious like mental ping pong situation in my head.
Yeah. And even if you slip up, right, it's the intentions that we put into stuff.
Yes.
And always finding the silver lining, right. And like I said, I'm not saying, oh, go drink alcohol, it's okay, whatever. But for this person that I'm speaking about as well, it's really odd, but she does get an insane amount of downloads when she drinks.
Oh,
okay. So she was having realization after realization after realization that I had been telling her for months already, years probably. And then all of a sudden, this day that she has, never, ever is there a big diesel on my street. It's small. Like, it's not even, I don't even know how he fits on my street right now, okay?
Good grief.
I can't even hear myself or anything. So I was telling her, I was like, look, you could sit there, you could beat yourself up, okay? Or let's go ahead, let's just take the beautiful things that came out of this. You had many, many realizations. So even if you were to drink, there was a purpose behind it. This is how we have to believe that, right? It doesn't say, okay, Danielle, go ahead and drown yourself away, drown your miseries away. No. We're on the same path of moving forward. So if it happens, there had to be something behind it. Just like for her, for whatever reason, she cannot open up fully spiritually unless she's drinking. So I told her, that's something for you to dig deeper into, to see where is this coming from? Why? Is there some kind of fear and that helps you let go? Or, I was like, but we have to see the silver lining in this. It's a must. And, the realization that I had too is like, we always talk about once we have our desires, they're already in existence. The only thing that we have to do is become a match to them. And I was just like, oh my gosh, the ending of this book was really hitting me. So Why do we not want to beat ourselves up? Because the moment we beat ourselves up, we lower our vibration. And in order for us to shift realities, we have to shift our energetic state. So prior to, it was like, okay, well, I'm holding a high vibration today, like everything's good. Okay, but it's not your state. It's a moment that you're having. In order for it to become your state, we have to live there more, right? Because her and even myself, you know, it's like, okay, why isn't anything moving forward? How come I'm stuck right here? What's going on? Right. Well, because how many times do we beat ourselves up every time something's not going right? Right? Even if you have an argument with your partner, fuck, this is a challenge, really. If you think about this right now, to not react when the person that you love triggers you, fuck, that's big. But can you see where we have to literally control our vibration and our frequency everywhere? Because you're like, oh, I'm doing the work. I'm showing up every day. I'm here for my clients. I'm going live. What the fuck is going wrong? But yet at home, you're beating yourself up over the alcohol, you know, or you're getting to fights with your partner. You're having disagreements. That's still taking your vibration out of alignment. It's not allowing you to hold that energetic state. So it really is coming back to love. There's no other fucking way. It's when we come back to that place of love, we have more understanding.
Yes.
You know, so she would even ask me, and I think it's important too, because there's other people who probably do this and other people who don't understand. It's like, how do you forgive so much? The people in your life do X, Y, and Z, or even, you know, relationship wise, how do you forgive so much? Well, because I have this understanding that we're all flawed, we're all damaged, we're all going through things. I've been able to take myself out of like the human experience and connect to the spiritual experience, which is what he's talking about right here, and see them as another spiritual being who is on their own journey of self-realization too, because that's really what this is. And that's where you're going to have more patience, right? You're learning patience today. I trigger your patience 24/7. Think about that. Literally, like if anybody tests your patience, it's me. Maybe you were lacking it somewhere in your life. I don't know. But you're here on time. Something always fucking happens over here, right? There's a lesson in it. You could choose to get upset. You could choose to be mad or be like, okay, I'm learning more patience here, more understanding. What lesson am I supposed to be learning? Everywhere. Yeah. But maybe somebody else does that to you in your life somewhere, maybe a family member. So I'm here to keep bringing it to your attention for it to be healed. You know, every fucking trigger is a learning lesson for us. And that's how we have to see this. Because when we act out in anger and frustration, we're lowering our vibration. We go back to square one 1,000,000 times and we can't ever get off of this fucking, what is it, hamster wheel. Yeah. We're wondering why, right? When we go back to a place of love and understanding, we're keeping that higher vibration. And it's hard. I don't even want to speak that into existence, but things can be challenging, but we can do this. And that's why we're here today. This is why we're speaking about these things. This is why these books have been thrown in our path. Yeah. We're coming back to wholeness. We're coming back to a place of love everywhere in our life, because without that love and this frequency that we're holding within ourselves, we can't hold it for anybody else. Yeah, exactly. There's no understanding. There's no compassion anywhere.
No. And you know what's so funny? So you were not here at the beginning, so you didn't know, but I was saying that, surprise, surprise, Derek and I had an argument this morning, hidden upper limit. We had an argument, and it's because, so it's really funny that you just said what you said about triggering my patience, because the argument was essentially, because it's never really about what it's about, right? What ultimately the relationship, what ultimately the argument was about was, I need to control everything. I need to control everything. And so like the human experience of it was, I asked him, hey, can you just figure out like some of the dinners you want to have this week? Because I got to order some groceries, right? I got to put our online order in. And I said, like, not right now, just like when you get a chance. And he got up right away and he went to the kitchen and he's like, well, I think we should probably look at what we already have, you know, and start using the things we have already first, or like what we can make. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. So I said, okay, good. And then I came in here because I have so many things to do today, right? And I sat down and then I hear him in the other room and he's like, well, can you come and make a list of what we have? Like, I'll read it to you. And I was like, no, like the whole reason I'm asking you to do it is because I don't have time, right? And then it's okay, well, I'll just count how many we have and then we'll kind of work from there, right? And I was like, no, you have to write it down because I need to know, da 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 da. And I went in there, and of course then that started an argument, because ultimately what was happening was, I feel that I need to control how things are going. It needs to be done my way. And it needs to be like, it needs to be done my way, or it's not being done properly, right? And then so that triggered an argument, and he was just trying to be helpful. Anyway, full circle came like a half an hour later when we both cooled down, and I was like, okay, I see what happened. What I should have done was let you do it however you wanted to do it, and then let it ride out. And let's just see what happens, right? So it's funny that, because by the time you messaged me to say, oh, my niece is just like literally at 11 o'clock, when I realized I hadn't sent you the link for our stream, for our live stream, I was like, oh shit. I sent you the link, and then I see the message from you that came in probably right when I was opening it that said, my niece just came home, super sick, I got to deal with this first. By then, I was already in a place of, I need to let go of more control. So it did not trigger me, because I was like, okay, that's all right. That's just how this is going to go. She's going to deal with that. I can do this. If she hops on, fine. If she doesn't, that's fine too. And I was in a totally different place, because I mean, I don't know, but if this had happened like 19 weeks ago, I'd have been like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah. And see, and if I wouldn't have taken responsibility for my side, right, and accepted it for what it was, I would have then projected what I think you're thinking onto you.
Right.
This is how these cycles start and stay.
Yeah.
By us not communicating, by not accepting where we are, who we are, our own truth, by taking a moment and looking at the bigger picture for a second before we react, which the moment we react and respond, we're giving our energy to the things that we don't even want.
Right, exactly.
But this is how the universe works. So here we go, full circle.
Yeah.
Right?
So
and we got to speak our truths in those moments. Hey, this is what happened. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't go around it. This is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
You got to accept it for what it is. And then we're still in peace. We all have understanding.
Exactly. And see, when you can be there, look at this morning, within 45 minutes, I got a second opportunity to react differently, right? Not everybody gets it right away, or not everybody, and maybe previously I wouldn't have even had the realization that I was being given a second opportunity, right?
Right.
But because I am really practicing being in awareness. And again, this is another reason why I chose not to drink over the weekend, because I thought, no, like, I'm in such a good, clear space. I don't want anything kind of fogging it up. Right. And it's a personal choice. And I'm not shaming anybody who wants to drink. Go and do what you want. Like,
no, but that's how it is for me too. I get brain fog. I feel like shit the next day, and that's not to say everybody experiences the same way, but that's my own experience too.
Right. And actually, it's funny because that kind of came up. So my husband and I and our son have started going to church on Sundays. And we've only gone like 3 or 4 weeks in a row now. And we actually really enjoy it. And I just bawl every time. I just can't, the energy in there is like just so good. I can't even handle it. But we ended up having a conversation with one of the pastors. And I don't even know how it came up, but we were talking about alcohol came up. Because my husband doesn't drink at all. He hasn't for a long, long time. And the pastor, he put it in a really simple way that I think is beneficial to this conversation we're having. And he was like, look, I won't even tell people if they should or shouldn't drink. It's just, if it hinders your ability to live in faith and in alignment, he didn't say it like that, but like in alignment with who you believe yourself to be and what's important to you, then don't do it. If it doesn't hinder any of that, then fine. Basically back to what you were saying about intention, right? What's the reason you're doing it? Are you doing it to escape something you don't want to be part of?
Exactly.
Or is there some other reason? Because if you're doing it to escape, then that is 1,000,000% the wrong reason to be doing it.
Right. And that was the exact realization that she had too. I was like, when we were talking about it, I was like, hey, let's break this down.
Yeah.
Let's see what even triggered you to pick up the alcohol. She's like, well, I hadn't got along with my mom and my sister for so long. And we were actually, for the first time in years, having an amazing time. We had some wine. I said, okay, you weren't using it as a crutch to escape your reality. Do you understand that? That's fucking big in itself. You're not using it to run from anything.
Right.
Okay. I'm not saying that we all should just like, let's have alcohol and bond over that 24/7.
Yeah.
But you know, the realization through this, you're not
Yeah.
running from yourself anymore, honey.
Right.
Like pat yourself on the back. That's fucking growth. We have to find that in everything. We have to find the gratitude. We have to. Because every day is a challenge. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. You know this. I mean, we've messaged back and forth. I'm sure you have other people who message back and forth. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck becomes normal?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly.
It's normal, guys.
No, honestly. And like, and things can turn around in an instant too. And that's why this work is so important. And the awareness is so important because, you know, like I said last week, I was not having a good day. Like I woke up, I was stressed out. That was the day that I got out of bed early, like just to have a cry because I just couldn't even like deal with life. And then by Friday, everything had turned around. And it was in those moments of like, oh, hang on a second. I asked for this and this happened and I needed this and this came to be and now this is happening. I was like, oh, okay, things are actually going really well now. But the problem is when we don't have that awareness or we're stuck in the negative cycles of self-sabotage and just negative self-talk and we don't have the supportive community to lean on, you don't recognize all of those things. And then you continue to think that things are going badly, right? Like even just a couple of weeks ago, I remember I think I even said this last week, I was journaling and I'm like, nothing, I didn't get enough done. Da, 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 da. And then I was like, I only got this and this. And I started listing all, I was like, well, hang on a second. I actually got a lot of stuff done today, but because I was in that moment feeling down about where I wasn't already, right? Comparing myself to, I don't know who, or I don't know what, but I was not focusing on what was getting done. I was focusing on what didn't get done. And it wasn't until I had the awareness to realize, oh, hang on a second. I actually am a lot further along than I thought. We have to give ourselves more credit. We have to give ourselves more grace. We have to have that increased awareness. We have to practice mindfulness, and self-compassion is like huge.
Oh yeah. Big time. That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing. And it's just every time something goes good, we really need to like drown ourselves in that moment, really soak it in so that our body and our ego, our mind, everything can feel that this is the new safe space. It's okay to be here. Yeah. Because just like with anything else in our reality, when it's unfamiliar, it's like, I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. I want to run. So it's the same with this new energetic frequency and state that we're creating. It's uncomfortable. So then we start creating these things to take us back to our more comfortable state. But just because it's comfortable doesn't mean that it's good there, doesn't mean that it's healthy. That it's usually the things that we no longer want, that we want to get rid of.
Right.
So we have to have this awareness. It's a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, at first when I heard that, or even when it comes to robotic affirmations, right? It seems like, oh my God, who wants to do this 24/7? Like, it's just too much work. You're thinking 24/7.
Yeah.
So you need to look at it in that perspective. The thinking doesn't stop. We cannot stop thinking. So all you're doing is thinking the correct thoughts.
Right.
This is why you have to have this end goal, this desire, this dream, to know where you're headed, because those are the thoughts that you have to align with.
Right.
You got to look at yourself. First, start with your desire, and then look at what you're thinking about yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your external world, and see if it's in alignment with these things, because you're going to have to keep going back. I mean, it's redundant already. We keep saying this. You got to read it over and over and over and over, you know?
Yeah.
But there's no other fucking way. This is the truth.
Well, exactly. And we need to question ourselves more. Like I was having a conversation with, I have just come into the awareness that I attract to me the right people and opportunities and resources and things as I need them, right? So I ended up, I don't even know how this girl and I are already connected, but I'm having a conversation with this girl who, like, she earns millions of dollars a year. Okay. And she's giving me, I was talking to her about, I was thinking about starting a mastermind. Right. And so we're talking, and I give her my idea, and she's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And I was like, I just don't know like where to price it. And she's like, well, I would price it at least this much. And I was like, oh my God, like that's way more than I was thinking about pricing it, right? And she's like, no. She's like, everybody's doing it around that price point. You don't want to do it. You want to do it higher because you want to be like a unicorn thing. And she was like, and I understood everything she was saying, right? But then I remember after our conversation, I was
it's
like,
instant freak out mode because it's new numbers to you.
Because I was like, oh my God, like I am not in a position that I could pay that to anybody else. And of course, then I have all these beliefs about things you've heard other people say about if you can't afford it, then you shouldn't charge it, which I also think is bullshit. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So there's that. And then I was like, oh my God, like I don't know that I can get on board with charging that.
Right here in this moment, what was triggered? Your self-worth, your self-concept.
Oh, totally.
You know your fucking worth. You know your worth.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yeah.
But now a new level came in and hit. And this is exactly what I'm saying in this life. Every new level, it's going to hit again. So you instantly, all these things start coming in, and we can easily take that and bash ourselves back into the ground and think that we ain't shit and we're not good enough. Imposter syndrome, all this stuff kicks in. Right. So this is so important that we're having this conversation so that when this happens for everybody else, because it's going to, I mean, who doesn't see your worth? I see your worth, and I'm sure everybody who follows you does too. So to actually see that you are where you are, but you're hitting another new level of all these crazy numbers, and oh my gosh, I can actually accomplish this shit. Like I know enough to get this done is like, whoa, it's scary. And you question yourself, but there's really nothing wrong with you. It's just the fucking avatar system that kicks in.
Yes. And I appreciate all of that. I receive it all. Thank you fully. But it was crazy because I was like, okay, well, hang on a second. Like this person who doesn't even know me is saying that I could do this and I could charge this much and all this. And then I was like, okay, obviously it's possible. There are people out there charging way more than what she's even suggesting that I am charging. So I thought, okay, instead of shrinking into, oh my God, I can't, I thought, how can I expand into being in alignment with the version of myself who feels good about asking for that? Right. And then I was like, just that awareness. I was like,
energetic.
High five myself. Yeah, totally.
Energetic.
Like, yes, okay. Like it's about, because at this point, I've only really asked myself the question and started to make kind of some little shifts. But it's like, okay, asking better questions, right? Instead of going, oh, well, that's not possible. Okay, well, how is it possible? How can I align with that version of myself, right?
I had this realization this morning, exactly what we're talking about. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's just that you don't have the container to hold that state yet.
Yeah.
And here comes this fucking book saying, every time something feels good, sit in it, because we're growing our container for feel good. You're changing your energetic state to be able to hold these things. That's the only fucking thing that's going on here. Yeah. That's the only thing. We just don't have the container yet. Yeah. But this is why this book is here. You're growing your container right now. The more you sit here in this energy, this feel good and this knowing, right? You keep sitting there like, oh my gosh, I had this conversation with her. It was so amazing. I can do exactly what she does. Sit there for a second with it and hold it until that scary feeling goes away. This is what this is about. Yeah. Creating the correct energetics. That's all that we're missing, you guys. This is what the meaning of shifting your frequency to your desires. This is it right here. Our energetic state, creating this container to hold it. That's it. That's it. You're worthy of all the things that are already in existence. We're just creating the space now. And as we create the space, we create the space for other people to follow us.
Yes.
Speaking on it right here.
Right? I expand in abundance, success,
yes!
every day.
Now it has a different meaning. Now it has a different meaning.
Yes. And I've been actually using that in meditation in the mornings. I've been sitting with my hand on my heart and my other hand on my kind of like a womb space. And I just repeat the mantra. And then I don't have any kind of like script I follow or anything, but I just kind of just like self-coach myself too. It's like, it's okay. It's safe. Like it's okay to have these things, and it's okay to be known and to be seen. And then, I think about it and it's just like, man, we have this fear of being seen. Like as humans, we have a fear of being, well, not everybody, I don't want to project that onto anybody, but we have a fear of rejection, which then translates to a fear of being seen. Because if we're seen and somebody doesn't agree, they're going to reject us and all of this stuff. Right. And then I thought, man, Teresa and I have never had any negative comments on any of our talks. I haven't had a negative comment on any of my videos for I don't even know how long. The last time I had anything negative happen was actually a troll. So what do I care about her?
And we talked about that, and there was a deep-rooted belief, and we kicked that motherfucker out, and things shifted.
Right. So it's like, it is. So then what you want to do, and what I've been doing, is looking for proof of what I'm saying is true, right? And then it changes the way that you are operating in your mind too, right? Because now your reticular activating system kicks in and continues to find proof of what you're saying. And now you've already put it, oh, hang on, there's this piece of proof, and there's this piece of proof, and there's this piece of proof. And like Teresa's saying, you have to learn how to, and I do, and she does, and we all do, need to learn how to sit in the good feelings more. And I've been actively doing that. I've been actively sitting with, okay, yes, these good things. Because of course it went from like, I had a rough day last week. Like, I'm talking fairly close to rock bottom, as close as I've gotten in a long time. And then a really good day near the end of the weekend. We're talking just days apart. And I'm like, okay, no, we need to sit in this good feeling and let it be here. Know that it's safe. Know that it's good. Know that I deserve it. Know that I'm working towards it. It was already in, like, you guys need to understand, all the good things that are happening in your life have been trying to come to you for some time. It's not like they just, like, something snapped and everything shows up. I mean, yeah, maybe something snapped and everything shows up, but it's been trying to come to you this whole time. Right? So you need to understand.
You get to a point and you'll see. Yeah. You'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, I had a meltdown and it was actually like exactly how it was supposed to happen. It was so beautiful. It led me here. Like, what was I doing?
Exactly.
But
because
it takes time to get that vision, that clarity to be able to do that.
It does. But that's why we are always saying, and we're going to probably say it every single week until we are old and gray, is that everything that's happening around you is helping you, helping you get closer to your manifestation or become the person who can hold it. Like, it's, I mean, I guess those are kind of one and the same thing, but it's always serving you. Everything is always working out for you. Everything is always helping you get where you want to go. Everything. That's why it's so important that you develop the awareness to see it that way, because it's so much easier to deal with. Because even the worst things, like even the worst things that could happen, you look at it and go, okay, this is kind of interesting, but at least I know that in some way, at some point, this is going to make sense. And I'm going to, it's all going to come full circle. And I'm going to, like Teresa just said, okay, this had to happen for that to happen, for this to happen, so that I could be here now to do this.
Yep. Yep. Just like, even when we first started this, you know, I knew that I'm supposed to be sharing myself with the world. I know that I'm supposed to be creating my own program. You already have programs, right? But we got this divine guidance, being led, following the nudges, right? To do this, just to show up. We had no idea what's going to come out of this at all. And just from our first episode to today, I have complete clarity. I know exactly what my program is supposed to look like now. But I beat myself up prior to now, right? Because we started this whole journey at the same time, and you have the things already. You've been having them. But I can easily take that and beat myself up, which I did for very long. Like, gosh, you guys know the same things. You're on the same journey. How come? Blah, blah, blah. Well, there was more pieces to my puzzle that had to be inserted first. I had to get more clarity. Yeah. So just by taking that chance on myself, just as you are, look at how much has come out of this. I mean, you've revamped and recreated a whole new program that's now more aligning to your zone of genius. It feels good. There was nothing wrong with the other stuff. It was just what you knew where you were. There was nothing wrong with me prior to starting this. Nothing. Even though I beat myself up 1 million times. I put myself into the ground. I projected my shit on other people because I wasn't where I needed to be or whatever, whatnot. Yeah. But I can see that now by showing up. It's showing up, you guys. It's just being consistent and fucking showing up no matter what. Yeah. No matter what. There's something in everything, something to be learned. Well, and you're going to get more and more clarity as you go on.
Exactly. And clarity comes with time, but clarity also comes from action, right? So you can sit there and think about what you want to do all day long, but until you actually start trying to implement it and then realizing, okay, this doesn't work and I got to change this and whatever else, like, but then there's a fine line between perfectionism. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But like in Teresa's case, she can look at it like, oh, fuck, like I spent this many years thinking about it, not doing anything. But all the while, people who are close to her, like me, have done all these business programs and worked with these coaches and all this stuff. So now when she comes to me and says, okay, I'm ready to do my program, I need help, I can say to her, okay, bing, bing, boom, do this. Don't do anything else. And it's very fucking simple because I've already done, you know what I mean? So there's the silver lining is she can now, I mean, yeah, okay, there's
so many positives in that.
Yes, exactly.
Because then it shows you that you can guide somebody.
Exactly.
Then it's giving you the exact outline, right? Because if it works for me, it's going to work for everybody else that comes your way.
Well, exactly.
You know? But it's me, it starts with us, ourselves, accepting where we are and being okay with that and sitting with that. Even if you're lacking in certain places, it's okay. It's okay. You're not really lacking. You're just not there yet. There's just more molding to be done. That's it. And then we get to make this fun. Get to make it fun. It doesn't have to be a drag. It doesn't have to be depressing when we accept where we are and we're always speaking our truths and we're just accepting of everything. Yeah.
And just letting things unfold the way that they need to. Like Teresa and I've been doing this for 22 weeks now, which is still like crazy to me.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
We just decided like, okay, enough is enough. Let's just start talking once a week and we'll just see where it goes. We'll just see what happens. And we've been getting amazing feedback. It's good for both of us. It's good for, you know, a bit of a structured routine kind of a situation. You know, you guys know when to find us. We know we need to be somewhere at a certain time on certain days. And it's building that consistency, you know, and Teresa said it's been good for her to kind of step into that like role of commitment to be somewhere at a certain time, at a certain, you know, on a certain day or whatever, so that she feels good about the effort she's putting forward, right? So that's one of the amazing things.
I say to always follow the divine, the inspiration that you get, because it's not us, you guys. It's not that we got this idea. It was literally planted by the divine, by your higher self. And I'm going to give a quick example because I know we're already at an hour, but yesterday when I was reading the book and it was talking about the different relationships, and then it talked about the one where it's constant conflict and the adrenaline surges. And then instantly it brought me to thinking about, you know, being in an abusive relationship and how it's compared to the heroin addiction, blah, 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 blah. It was totally side tangent, but it's in my head. It said, get on your stories, make a story of it right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know who the hell is going to watch or listen or whatever, or if anybody's going to respond to it in any kind of way. It was what was in my heart.
Right.
So I posted that. It's still on my stories right now. Then I have, well, the person who trained me in the ombre, the tattooing eyebrows, her little post came up and it was disgusting, but it was funny. And I commented on it. And then there was like 50 people who liked it and got comments. And one of them went from there to my stories, sends me a long message saying, I'm the one that needed to hear this today. Oh, look at how it came. Look at how it came in. Yeah. It wasn't even from anybody following me. I commented on something. She liked the comment, clicked on me, went to my story. Yeah. It was exactly what she needed to hear. And she just wrote this whole long thing out, how she's been stuck and she needed this. She needed to know that there's nothing wrong with her. So it's like, you guys, if you get that inspiration, go with it. Fuck the fear. Who cares what? I could have been like, oh no, here it's going to be Teresa talking about her abuse again and blah, blah, blah. Because those things did come into my head for a second. And then I said, fuck no. If you have this divine inspiration to post this, it's because somebody needs to hear this today. And let me tell you, I don't have like hundreds of likes on my stuff, but I have thousands of views. So people are watching, even if they're not responding or liking all your shit, it doesn't matter. You're still reaching them. Sometimes people don't like to talk about their trauma, but just know by you staying in your power, following your divine inspiration, you're doing exactly what you came here to do.
Yeah, that is so important. Yes, 1,000,000%. And you have to understand that, yes, you're being given an idea, a nudge for a reason, because even if it only helps one person, because of you, one person's life is better. And you don't know where that person's at in their life. Like, it doesn't necessarily even have to be about trauma. It can be, you could be telling some funny story about something goofy that happened to you, that because they're in a bad place, the same thing happened to them, but they took it totally differently. Or maybe they're in a good place and they just want to know that somebody in their world has suffered from something. But it doesn't even have to be suffering. It can just be anything. But like, if you're inspired to say something, it's because somebody else needs to hear that.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? So something that Teresa and I are always doing, not necessarily together before we start this, but I know it's the general intention that we set even in the beginning of the day is like, okay, God, angels, universe, you know, anybody who's out there, use me as a channel to say whatever it is that people need to hear today, because I'm here. You know, I accept the position that you've put me in. I accept the job you've given me, and not everybody has what it takes to be able to get up and talk publicly on the internet for billions of people to be able to find to say what needs to be said. And it's a little bit scary when I think about it like that, but you know, that's the truth of it, and we're here for it. So if I'm going to do it anyway, you might as well use me as, you know, a conduit for the messages that need to be heard, and say what you got to say. So
that's what I say every day.
Here we are. Yeah.
And look at what happened this morning. I had no idea you got into argument.
No,
you know
I know. That's like, so funny. That's what I mean.
I have allowed myself to be that channel to give people the messages that they need to receive.
Yes, exactly. So there you go. Well, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I am so glad that Teresa was able to make it. I appreciate everybody who's here. Thank you, James, for sharing. Thank you, Kayla, for hanging out. Thank you, everybody else who's watching. I can't see your names. I appreciate it so much. We are doing a fresh giveaway for June. So if you want to share any of our episodes, comment shared, then that gets you entered into the giveaway. It also gets you our little gift of the affirmation poster, the meditation, and the subliminal audio that I've made just for you guys. And then if you want to get more entries, you can share more, or you can tag friends in the videos, because we would love your help in spreading the messages that we know somebody needs to hear. You never know. So thank you so much for doing that. We will do the draw again at the end of the month. And thank you for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yes,
we're going to talk about just what really quickly we're going to do the conclusion and the appendix. There's baby steps and big leaps. We'll do both those chapters next week. So if you're following along with us, you can read both of those. We'll discuss both. And then we will move on to a new book the week after, which we will announce next week. Have an awesome day, you guys. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.